Hi, everyone. My name is Louise Smoke. I'm the Programs Director for Friendship Heights Neighbors Network, and I want to welcome all village and non-village members to this program. FHNN is really excited to partner with the Prevention of Blindness and Sandy on this program. And for those of you who are not village members, I want you to know villages provide services to seniors who wish to age in place. Some of these services include rides to medical appointments primarily, grocery shopping assistance, and some villages provide specific low vision assistance such as reading and help with bills. If you are not a village member, you can respond to the email which has the link and say that you're interested in villages and someone will try to help you or contact Sean. And now I'm really pleased to introduce Sean Curry. He is the Programs Director for the Prevention of Blindness Society of Metropolitan Washington. And thank you all for joining us today.
All right. Thank you, Louise, and good afternoon, everyone. We're very excited to be here today and see so many folks interested in this topic. My name is Sean Curry. I'm the Programs Director, Prevention of Blindness Society. We are a nonprofit serving the DC metropolitan community, and we are focused on eye and vision health. In particular, for seniors, we have our low vision programs, which you're going to learn a little bit more about today as a part of the presentation. So I'm not going to go into details about that. But one thing I do want to highlight is for those of you in Friendship Heights, we do have a low vision resource and support group that meets there on the fourth Thursdays at noon at the village there. And the next one's going to be this Thursday, so in 2 days at 12 o'clock. And it's actually moderated by Sandy, our speaker today. And we're going to be talking about accessible transportation for people with vision loss. So stay tuned. And if you're interested in joining that, please feel free to join us then. But without further ado, I do want to introduce our guest speaker today, Miss Sandy Muzel. She has had a long career as a geologist for several years. Very, very successful. And one thing that many people may not have realized is that she's been visually impaired her entire life. And not only for that, now she's retired and she works with the Prevention of Blindness Society, as well as some other groups that are focusing on vision loss. And so she is an advocate, very knowledgeable, and always puts a positive note on things when it comes to vision loss. So Sandy, I'm going to pass the mic over to you.
Thank you, Sean. Welcome, everybody. Glad to be here for part two of this two-part presentation where Dr. Murdoch gave a very good presentation last week about aging eyes and various health issues related to aging eyes. I'm going to give part two about low vision in particular. So I'm the low vision community outreach person for the prevention of blindness. I was really glad to connect with Louise Smoke and the villages to have this opportunity. And I want to give a special shout out to Effie Pagitsis, who made the introduction from prevention of blindness to the villages so that this could happen. Okay, today we'll talk about low vision, what it is, how to recognize whether you have it or get a clue that your friend has low vision, and then resources that can help people who have low vision, where you can find out more information or techniques, tools, whatever. So Sean, the next one, next slide. So I especially want to highlight part of the mission statement of the Prevention of Blindness Society that was started in 1936. And the mission statement says that the prevention of blindness is dedicated to the improvement and preservation of sight and quality of life by providing services and education. So that's really what we're trying to do here in the low vision world, to help seniors have an independent and safe life. Next slide. Well, Sean told you a bit about me. I think I can skip this slide. Next slide. Okay, so what is low vision? You may never have heard the term. Some people really don't like the term. It doesn't have an absolutely clear-cut definition, but let's try to explore a little bit from I'm not going to say much about the medical side because I'm going to talk more about the functional side, but really quickly, next slide. Vision is really a spectrum from people who have 20/20, which is considered perfectly normal vision, all the way to blindness or total blindness, where there's only light perception or maybe there's no light whatsoever. So, and if you're lucky, you have 20/20 vision. If your vision has deteriorated a little bit, it might be corrected with glasses, so that with your glasses, best correction, you can see 20/20. Perhaps because of some eye condition, you cannot correct your vision to 20/20, and now you're sliding into the low vision realm of things. And then if eyesight is even worse than that, legal blindness is defined as with the best correction you can get for your eyes, meaning glasses or contact lenses, you see less than 2200, which means you see at 20 feet with your best correction and your best eye, what a person with normal vision could see at 200 feet or 300 feet or 400 feet. My best correction is 2200 on a really good day with the best light possible. I'm calm, cool, and collected and not stressed. And another definition of legal blindness is that you have less than 20 degrees of vision, which would be sort of like looking through the tube of a paper towel roll, that you only see a tiny area of the whole field of vision. And causes include, aging can bring on cataracts, age-related macular degeneration. There's no guarantee that that will happen to you, but as you age, the probability or possibility that that will happen does increase. It could be from inherited eye diseases, and I'm thinking glaucoma is commonly inherited. Diabetes, diabetic retinopathy can affect your vision, or it could be from a sudden onset from strokes or accidents. So next slide. So if you do have a decline in vision, it could either be gradual or could be sudden. And you may not have any vision loss whatsoever. But if you do have a decline in your vision, if it's gradual enough, you may not realize it. For myself, my vision's been going downhill so gradually my whole life. I really have to stop and think, gosh, I can't do now X, Y, or Z, what I used to be able to do as a kid. But also people, if the vision decline is gradual, they may not realize it. They may be in denial. They may try to hide it. I tried not to tell people that I couldn't see very well for my entire career because I didn't want to be judged differently. If the change in vision is rapid, or if you've suddenly lost the ability to drive or do things you used to do, it can be rather emotional, rather traumatic. And until you're really accepting of it and adjusting to it and moving forward, you can really need a lot of compassion to sort of move forward and get over this low spot in your life of having less vision than you want or had in the past. Next slide. So the way to figure out whether you have low vision, and like I said, low vision is really sort of a functional thing. Is it affecting your daily life, what you can do on a daily basis? So think of this as a quiz. And if you answer no to any of these 4 questions, then that's a strong indication that you have low vision. So, can you drive at night? Me, I can't drive at all. I'm way beyond that. Can you read newspapers and books? And I'm talking, newspapers that don't have the greatest print, paperback books, magazines, can you still read those things? Can you recognize faces at about 10 feet away? And can you see facial expressions of your friends and your family sitting across the dinner table from you? And can you see steps to walk downstairs? Like, can you see the edge of the step so that you know where to put your foot? Next step, next step. If you answered no, those are all a challenge. That's an indication you have low vision. Okay, next. And a few more questions to think about. And these are, if you answer yes, it's an indication you have low vision that's impacting your daily life. You know, have you quit doing hobbies? Did you quit sewing, knitting, crocheting, building birdhouses, scrapbooking, because it was just too hard to see the details or the colors of things? Do you struggle to watch TV? Do you still sit on the sofa to watch TV and you have to ask the person sitting next to you, what just happened? Who said that? You know, you can't follow what's going on because you can't see the TV. Have you tripped or fallen because you didn't see an obstacle? Like, did you trip over the box you left in the hall that you meant to put away? Did you trip over the open dishwasher door? Did you trip over, oh my goodness, I have tripped over so many yellow caution signs, wet floor. There I go, tripping right over what I'm supposed to be seeing to avoid. And if you said yes to any of these, like I said, it's an indication you or the friend you're observing has low vision. Next. So what's the perspective of people who do have low vision? Now, like I said, it can be gradual decline in vision, and you can get used to doing things your own way. And if you're in your comfort zone, in your own home, in the church you've been going to every week for 30, 40 years, at the grocery store that you shop at 3 times a week, you may be able to manage and get around just fine. But next slide. But when you're out of your comfort zone, when you're in an unfamiliar place, it may be a lot more difficult, and you may be realizing, oh, I'm a little, this is awkward. I have to stop and think about it. It can be stressful. So let's use the example of going to the doctor's office or going to a restaurant you're unfamiliar with, you know, trying to catch a taxi, you know, going on public transportation, flying to a city you've never been to before, taking a bus you've never been on, going to a metro stop you've never been to. Those can be challenging because you have to get a lot of visual information about this new surrounding where you've never been before. And if there's, you know, several factors like change in lighting as you go from outdoors to indoors. If it's a bright sunny day and you walk indoors and it's not well lit, or vice versa. If you're indoors and you go outside at night and suddenly it's a whole lot darker, you may need to stop, get your bearings, wait a few minutes, take a deep breath, and then figure out what you can see and how to navigate forward. If there's patterns on floors or shadows or steps, I was walking through, I think it was Dallas Airport, and I thought, my goodness gracious, this airport has a lot of steps in the floor, until I realized it was just the patterns on the floor, and the floor was completely level. But in the meantime, I was like, don't fall off that step, don't fall off that step. And shadows can make, you know, bright sunshine and shadows can make things, can either hide things you're supposed to be seeing or make it look like there's a step or an edge there that isn't there. People will often say, well, just look at that sign. And I don't even know where the sign is, let alone I can't read the sign. You can have difficulty seeing forms to fill out, you know, or reading menus. Doctors' offices are amazing how they hand you forms to fill out in teeny tiny print that you can barely read. And there's situations where you can't see the staff to get their attention. You walk in somewhere and you're like, where's a person who can help me? And you're looking all around. I can't even see people necessarily more than 10 feet away from me. And I certainly can't see their facial expressions to tell whether they're saying, just a minute, I'm on the phone. And you can't see hand gestures when somebody's trying to say, they'll actually tell you verbally, well, follow me, please, or over there. And I'm like, where do you mean by over there? Over where? Dreaded words for low vision people, over there. Next, Sean. So that's a person with low vision struggling to figure out their environment and how to navigate that environment. But how about people who have normal vision who are trying to help people with low vision? So next. So if you're a person who has normal vision and you're giving your friend a ride somewhere and helping them out, this is just sort of some suggestions on how you can do it in a very gracious, kind, and helpful way. And rather than telling your low vision friend what to do, it's really better to ask, because each person who has a vision challenge, I swear they're all different, and you can't tell by looking at a person what they can or can't see. But ask, don't tell. Ask them how you can help. Offer to, help them fill out forms at the doctor's office. But if you do that, be sure you respect their privacy. If you're in a waiting room at a doctor's office and you're filling out a form, don't say, oh, and Martha, what is your social security number and your phone number? Be sure to be discreet and courteous about things like that. Offer your arm to hold. Offer your low vision friend your arm and let them hold your arm so that you can lead them. And there's just sort of a half a step behind you. And they can sort of sense as you step up a step, if you forget to say step up or step down, it's much more helpful to lead a person than to grab their arm and sort of push them ahead down the hallway. Offer rides for errands and doctor's appointments. I think one of the hardest things that I'm still trying to learn is how to ask friends to give me rides. All my friends say, Sandy, I'm happy to give you a ride, but I always feel like I'm imposing if I'm the person who initiates that phone call. If friends called me up on Monday and said, so what's your schedule this week? Can I give you a ride? I'm available Wednesday and Thursday. It's offering help is very appreciated. Avoid saying things like, I know you can't see it, but, and it's better just to go ahead and say, oh man, there is the brightest red robin on the lawn out front. And he's just, yep, he got a worm. He's pulling it out of the ground now. Your friend has now visualized all of that and really appreciates hearing it without any, oh, you can't see it, but oh, there's, it's really better to just go ahead and describe things. Avoid any punitive comments and attitude. And I consider that, I know you can't see it, but to be a very punitive comment. Don't treat your friends like, I already showed you how to do that on your computer. I've showed you twice. To me, that's a punitive attitude. Rather offer, say, if you'd like, I could try to show you how to do such and such on your iPhone. And if they ask you a second time, be gracious, teach them again. If they ask a third time, say, I know we're going to get the hang of this pretty soon. And when they learn how to do that, give them all sorts of encouragement. Everybody can benefit from positive encouragement. I know everybody on this phone call or Zoom call can benefit from positive encouragement, and low vision people certainly can. Okay, next, Sean. So I'm going to stop here. If there's a couple of questions, if there's something I've said that didn't make any sense at all, we could take a couple of minutes to answer questions here and then go on to the low vision resources and more. But if there's any questions, Sean can read the chat box. I can't. People are welcome to raise hands, which is in the, I think you're all probably experts at this, reactions button at the bottom, or Alt Y, I think it is, to raise hands.
Yeah.
And I'll just take a deep breath and a sip of coffee in case anybody has a question.
And for folks, if you want to unmute yourself, there's a microphone at the bottom left of your screen. You can also do Alt plus the letter A to mute and unmute yourself. If you're on a phone, it's *6.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah. Benita, I see you unmuted yourself. You have a question?
Yes, I do. I have a friend who is legally blind who uses a service dog. I'm learning, I need to have advice in the matter of when you go to restaurants or you go any place, does the dog lead, or how is it best to assist?
I think the answer would be that you, if you're a sighted person, can go in first, because I think, I don't know this for sure, but the guide dog would be leading the person who is legally blind. And that person might be able to say to the dog, there might be a command that says, follow Allison or follow whoever. There are specific commands for dogs, and I think that there is one that you can follow so-and-so.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful.
And you could ask your friend, what would the best way be to do this?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I can just chime in a little. I know a little bit about guide dogs. That's something that your friend should know. If they have a guide dog, they've gone through very, very intensive training on how to use the guide dog. So that's an easy question just to ask your friend about.
Thank you.
Any others? Any others, Sean, or should I go on?
Let's see. Somebody just unmuted. 703.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Last two.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Sean, it's Joe. Sandy, excellent presentation. I thought I knew everything, but I don't. In terms of the guide dog, as one of the participants said, I think it's best to let the person with the guide dog, they know their guide dog best. And even if they're maybe going off course a little bit, the person with the guide dog can correct it. And as Sandy said, the best way to deal with a person with low vision is let them tell you what they need and want. In other words, you can ask, but let them take not take the lead in mobility, but take the lead in telling you what they need and what they want. They always should take your arm, but you can let them lead in terms of what their needs are.
Absolutely.
I think you can go ahead, Sandy, and then we'll have more questions. Time for
Okay.
questions.
All right, so we're kind of halfway through. So Low Vision Resource Center, I call LVRC. The Low Vision Resource Center that Prevention of Blindness has, they have one in Bethesda, they have one in Alexandria. There's a low vision resource specialist at this place, and it's, funded by Prevention of Blindness. So let's go on to the next slide. So at the resource center, it's free to you, free resources and services, and I'm going to say service navigation, to figure out what, not navigating in the sense of moving from here to there, but navigating what are the resources and services. And I have an asterisk there to remind me to say that anything that you learn or discuss at the Low Vision Resource Center is in addition to whatever you learn from your medical doctors. Don't forget to go see your eye doctors, have a dilated eye exam roughly once a year. Your eye doctors may say more often, they may say once every 2 years, but just say, once a year, dilated eye exam. So an ophthalmologist can look at your retinas, look at your corneas, look at the lenses in your eye. They can assess what's going on in your eye and make recommendations medically how to maintain your vision as best as possible. The Low Vision Resource Center, all of the resource guide people, I sometimes substitute there. Tara Aziz and Joe Awkward work there. They're called resource specialists, and they know a lot about a lot of resources that are available for people who are low vision, legally blind. Whether you are eligible for some of those resources depends on the degree of, how much vision you have. Some resources are available for free to anybody and everybody. Some are only free to people who have legal blindness. Some services cost money. Some government services are free if you fill out the paperwork, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so it's a various services for various people at various costs, but visiting that Low Vision Resource Center is free to you. You can have an appointment that's hour and a half long, at which point your mind will be exploding. I think most people hang in there for about an hour learning about things, and after that, they've sort of reached saturation. But you can come back a second time if you want. You can call on the phone and ask questions about resources. We can't answer questions about medical issues, but we can answer questions about resources. The appointments are one-on-one with these resource specialists, so it's a very private conversation. It's not like there's a whole room full of people there. However, you're very welcome to, and we actually encourage you to bring a family member, whether it's your husband, wife, son, daughter, parent, uncle, whatever, or a friend, because two pairs of ears listening to what we say, and maybe one person who's taking notes while the other person's trying things out, is going to give, you'll retain more information that way. So it really is helpful to have a person with you, believe me. So you can call to make an appointment on the hotline, as we call it. And I have the phone number on the last slide. You can call that hotline Monday through Friday. We try to pick up and answer the questions right away. Sometimes you're busy, and if so, you have to leave a message and we'll call back. But you can call that hotline 24/7 and leave a message. It's just, you're more likely to get a person picking up the phone during regular business hours. Okay, next slide, Sean. So at the Low Vision Resource Center, the number one most commonly asked question or thought that people have when they come in and say, I need help with I'm having trouble seeing things. I need better magnification. Everything's too small. It's hard to tell A's from little O's, number 6 from number 9. I just need more magnification. So we have a bunch of optical magnifiers, and by optical magnifiers, I mean those things that kind of look like what Sherlock Holmes would carry around, and in a range of magnification strengths. So first off, I'll say, generally speaking, it's better to get a magnifying glass that has a built-in light, because as soon as you hold that magnifying glass over what you're trying to look at and put your head over that, you've pretty much created a shadow on what you're trying to see, which makes it harder to see. The second thing I'll say about optical magnification is, as you say, I need it, 2x isn't working, I need 4x. Okay, 4x used to work last year. Now I need something stronger, 6x, 8x. As you try each stronger magnifying glass, you'll see that it's just optical physics. The larger you make whatever you're looking at, the less you can see at one time. So if you have a 2x magnifying glass and you can see 5 words, the whole column width of a newspaper article, by the time you get up to 8x, you might be seeing 1 word at a time, or even part of a word at a time. So there are trade-offs between increased magnification and what you can actually do at that magnification. So another option is what's called digital magnification, which is basically using a camera, a digital camera, to take a picture and project that picture on a screen. So the original version of this, oh gosh, 30 some odd years ago is the first one I saw, actually in the late 80s, so probably getting close to 40 years ago. They were called CCTVs, which was for closed circuit televisions. And the closed circuit was because you had a camera that was sending a picture to a TV screen on a closed circuit. It wasn't being broadcast nationally. So the TV was literally one of those big old monitor TV screens, huge, clunky, monstrously heavy machines, but they're still referred to as CCTVs, even though they're the sleek, sophisticated flat screen TV with a digital camera behind projecting an image on the screen. Those are the large ones. And all of the digital magnifiers can zoom in, or almost all of them can. And they can do color enhancement of what you're looking at. Either you can have just a straight image of what you're looking at, which is good if you're trying to look at photographs of your grandchildren, or they can do color enhancements. Usually the first step is high contrast. So all the light colors are made into white and all the dark colors are made into black. So you have basically a black and white image, a very simplified image, which is good if you're reading text. And for some people that works, but for some people like myself, that's too much brightness. And I like what's called inverted colors, which makes the text black and the background white. And some of these digital magnifiers, or many of them, have a lot of other color options. You could have white on red, you could have yellow letters on black. There's a host of options, and you could try those out at the Low Vision Learning Center and see whether different colors help you. So digital magnifiers can have a large screen, like a computer monitor. They can be medium size, and you can pick the machine up and take it with you, sort of the size of a laptop screen, an iPad screen. Or there's handheld ones that are small and have a screen sort of the size of a smartphone. Those are really portable. You can put them in your purse, put them in your pocket, take it to a theater and read the program notes, take it to a restaurant, read the menu. But I just said smartphone. Smartphones are basically, they can be a digital magnifier. I use my smartphone as a digital magnifier all the time. I take a picture of the app label at the back of the Apple bin, and because I can't see whether those 4 letters are Gala or Fuji, and I can barely read the number, but if I take a picture and pinch zoom with my fingers, I know which kind of apples and what price. So that's a digital magnifier many people have today. Okay, next, Sean. Okay, so the next one I'm going to discuss that we can talk you through at the Low Vision Learning Center or Resource Center. And believe me, I wish I'd known these 3 terms and what they meant when I was a kid. Lighting, glare, and contrast. Exclamation, 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 because those 3 things may be more important than magnification for many people to help you see with whatever eyesight you have. So light or lighting, the brightness that you need, how much light you need, generally increases as your eyes get older. Not always, but generally. Light on the task that you're doing can be very important. And the color of that light can be very important. I think we pretty much all remember the warm yellow glow of incandescent lights, whereas most LED lights these days, people have the LED lights that are sort of a glaring, harsh white. You don't have to have LED lights that color, because they do make LED light bulbs with the softer, warmer colors. if you get the Kelvin 2500 K, 2500 on the box, tends to be more like incandescent lights, whereas the K 5000, those are very white. You'll feel like you're in an operating room and doing surgery if you have those lights on. So choosing your light bulb so that you get brightness and color that you need. In your home, the ambient lighting, the room lights, the lamps on the table, the ceiling lights, that sort of sets the ambient lighting in the room. But when you're trying to read something, or, you know, chop vegetables in the kitchen, or you're scrapbooking or sewing or something, you may need a little extra light right there where you're doing a task, when you're doing a task. And so buying a portable or small task light that you can move from place to place, that has a range of brightness and a range of colors, I highly recommend those. And a lot of people don't know they exist. And they're not very expensive. Glare. So glare is when too much light is reflecting into your eyes. Think of the glare off the hood of the car in the afternoon when you're driving into the sun. It's twice as bad when the sun's coming into your eyes, plus the glare from the hood of the car is coming into your eyes. So the position of lights and the angle that that light is coming from can be very important. When I go into a restaurant and there's daylight outside and windows, I always sit with my back to the windows so that the light is coming over my shoulders and not shining directly into my eyes, off of the dishes and off of the glasses and off of the shiny table. If you're at home and you're trying to position a task light, put it to the side of what you're looking at, or have it shining over your shoulder so that the light that reflects off of that surface will be reflecting away from your eyes. Yes, there's plenty of light lighting it up for your eyes to see it, but any reflected light that's causing glare isn't reflecting into your eyes. Contrast. Okay, I wish I had known what contrast was all about. I've known my whole life that if somebody shows me two sweaters, one's pastel blue, one's pastel green, I'm like, yeah, what's the big deal? I can't tell the difference in the colors because they're both they're both kind of light gray to me. I really can't tell. There's a subtle difference. But if they'd showed me a dark navy blue and a light green, I would have been able to tell. So colors and things that are similar can be difficult to tell apart. Now, this becomes important when you're outdoors walking and the concrete sidewalk, the concrete curb, the concrete below the curb, the apron of the road. You know how that whole edge of the road and the concrete curb are actually one piece installed together frequently. If they're all the same color concrete, I can't tell where the edge of the sidewalk is, where the edge of the curb is, where I step down to the street, or is that apron of the street really part of the sidewalk and the curb, and they just put blacktop right up to the edge of the curb? I don't know. I can't see the difference. But amazingly, and this doesn't necessarily work for everyone, color filter glasses that filter out some of the colors, you can't even really tell how it's working, but color filter glasses, often referred to as fit over glasses, you can put them right over the glasses you're wearing, and they may enhance the contrast a little bit just so that you can see the edges of things and distinguish things. For me, I wear orange fit over glasses, and I'll tell you that I have two of my three sisters were also born legally blind, and since we all had the same parents, presumably we all have many of the same genes. One sister preferred gray fit over glasses. She said, I just need to reduce the light a little bit. There's too much glare. Another sister says, I wear red. It really works for me. I don't know why. And if I don't wear my red glasses outside, I get, migraine headaches, but they really help me see. Don't ask me to explain why. The physicists, the eye doctors can't tell you exactly But if you come to the Low Vision Learning Center, you can try these different color fit over glasses and see if any one of them actually helps you. And it's really can be quite surprising what a difference it makes. And again, contrast, enhancing contrast, inverting colors can really make a difference. Where I could look at a piece of paper with white background, I won't be able to see any letters at all. If I can invert it, I would be able to read it quite often. Okay, next, Sean. So there's other helpful tools we can tell you about at the Low Vision Center. Okay, if you're a person who really likes to hold a book and you don't need much magnification, you might be able to read if you have large print books or large print newspaper. And for a lot of people, that tactile holding that piece of paper is really important. It's hard to let go of that concept if you've been a reader all your life and you liked reading books. So that's one possibility. Another way you can make things large print is so much stuff is available digitally. If you can load it onto your computer and then magnify the font size, there's many ways computers can make small print larger, just basically expanding it, zooming in, so to speak. And we can discuss, you know, your specific situation, what computer you have, what's available. Or you can turn to using other senses. Late in the day, my eyes get really tired and I use my ears a whole lot more after 6 o'clock. You can listen to things. You can use audio ways of reading things. You can, the Washington Post, the New York Times, I think both have ways that you can click. If you get those digitally, you can, you know, click something or other, and usually it's a microphone looking thing, and listen to a computer voice read the article to you. There's a way to listen to what's called audio description for television shows that are pre-recorded, not all, but many. Movies, more and more movies as they are produced have audio description. Audio description is a little bit like closed captions that is used on, you know, TV programs and movies for people who can't hear. Well, audio description is for people who can't see. And audio description is a human voice that's describing scenes or actions or facial expressions or costumes or whatever. And that's done in between the dialogue so that it's not disrupting the dialogue. It's just sort of another voice telling you what's going on. So you don't have to sit there on the sofa and ask, what just happened? What just happened? And then you can use the sense of touch, tactile products. I have a tactile bump dot on my caps lock key on my computer keyboard. Because that's the button I hit most often, because in my opinion, it should be the tab key, but they designed my computer keyboard so the caps lock is where I think the tab should be. And I write entire sentences, sometimes paragraphs in capital letters before I realize, look at the screen long enough to realize my cap lock's key was on. So I now have a bump dot there to give me a clue. No, don't touch that key. You can also use it on the important buttons. The buttons you use most frequently, not all buttons, like on your microwave, on your dishwasher, on your laundry washing machine. I have a couple bump dots on each of those. Not very many, just for the buttons I use 99% of the time. And there's other, you know, technology and apps, smartphones. We can talk to you about apps that can read out loud to you. Not perfectly, but it's free. And for a quick read of, you know, a short sentence or two or an address label on an envelope, it's sufficient. There are wearable devices that now we're going to get into the thousands of dollars range, but there's wearable devices that can magnify and enhance colors, just like those digital magnifiers, CCTVs, but it's right in front of your face, right in front of your eyes. The advantage of that is you're now hands-free. You can use both hands to do whatever while you're looking at something with the wearable goggles. Or there are wearable devices that don't enhance what you see, but they'll talk to you. They can take a picture of a text and then read it out loud to you. It would be a computer voice, I grant you. They can take a picture of a barcode and tell you what that barcode is. You can even train some of these devices to recognize your friend by taking a picture of it and labeling it that it's your friend, Tom or Sue or whoever. And then the next time your device sees that person, it'll whisper in your ear, Sue Goodman or Tom Brady or whatever. And then there are voice command things that at the very simplest level, an Alexa device is all voice commands and can do things for me. I can be in the kitchen cooking, slicing, messy hands, and ask my Alexa to tell me the weather, tell me this, answer that, play music. I don't have to press any buttons whatsoever, so my messy fingers don't matter, and I can do something with my voice. Some of these wearable devices that I mentioned are getting to the point where they have voice commands. You sort of give it a clue. It's almost like playing Jeopardy, where you set up the question and tell it what to do. But it's a fairly simple learning curve how to use voice commands. It is a learning curve, and you've got to be dedicated to it, but you can learn how to use voice commands to do things so that you don't have to use your eyes. Okay, next, Sean. I think I'm almost done. Okay, so other resources and services that we can tell you about at the Low Vision Learning Center. Another reading option, the most wonderful service in the United States for low vision people. I have been using this since 1966. The Library of Congress Talking Books program. If you can no longer read regular print because you can't see it or you can't hold the book, you're eligible for the Talking Books program, and we can walk you through that. They'll loan you the device you play the books on. They'll send you cartridges with the books digitally recorded. Very simple device, very tactile, very easy to use. We can tell you about transportation services in the DC area. If you have, there is a level of mobility or vision issues, you may be eligible for disability rides for free. Well, rides for free through Metro Access Paratransit, and para means parallel transit system. You may be eligible for discounted rides depending on your age or ability to, you can ride Metro. I think the cutoff is age 65. You can get the half price fares. And in different communities in the DC metro area, there are different services, more on a volunteer basis for, in Northern Virginia, I can't think of the name of the group, but there, and as Louise mentioned, the villages have ride services to doctor's appointments, things like that. We can also teach you how to use something like GoGo Grandparent, which will cost you a few dollars, but GoGo Grandparent can call you up an Uber ride or a Lyft ride or a taxi ride. You don't have, all you have to do is dial the phone and talk to somebody at GoGo Grandparent. You don't have to figure out on your smartphone how to manipulate rustling up an Uber ride. So there are other options out there to make your life a little bit simpler. And then there's rehabilitation specialists. So I have them, listed, and I'll try to go through them. low vision doctors. And by that, I mean low vision optometrists. So low vision optometrists should be able to assess with the vision you have, what are the best possible glasses and what are the tools that you can use that vision to your best advantage. So these guys are sort of medically trained above and beyond what the resource specialists at the Low Vision Learning Center are. But we kind of work hand in hand. They can tell you about the services very quickly. We can tell you in depth too. We can kind of give you our experience using that service. We can give you, insights and information. But a low vision optometrist really is an important person to see if your vision is declining, and our eyes, glasses guys can't get you a pair of glasses that do anything for you. It may be your vision is such that those are the best glasses, but it might be worth your time going to a low vision optometrist to double check. Occupational therapists can come to your home and assess your home environment and make suggestions to tweak your home environment to fit your vision needs. And orientation and mobility training, that's for outside of your home to get from point A to point B. When you walk out your front door, can you still get to the grocery store on your own safely and independently? Can you still ride Metro? Can you get to Metro? Metro has travel training for people who are, it's probably legal blindness, but it might also apply to low vision people. And then last but not least, I'm going to mention support groups. I kind of poo-pooed them years ago. I didn't have time because I was working, and, all those people, I didn't want to hang out with people who had vision problems. Well, I'm here to tell you, hanging out with other people who have vision problems is the fastest way to learn solutions, because they're all figuring things out too. And swapping ideas at support groups is just amazing. I learn something every time I go to a support group. And I hope that I share something with other people and somebody else walks away feeling like they learned something too. But I really can't say enough good stuff about support groups. It's you're with your people and you are swapping ideas. So I think, Sean, one more. All right, so it's time for questions and comments, but go one more, Sean. While we have questions and I try to answer them, I'm putting up here on the last page, the prevention of blindness, Low Vision Resource Center. This is the one in Bethesda, is at 4948 St. Elmo Avenue, Suite 209. Most importantly, the hotline, 301-951-4444. And like I said, there is also a resource center in Alexandria at 105 South Alfred Street. I need to put that on the slide. And I put down the Prevention of Blindness headquarters in DC, primarily because their website, www.youreyes.org. If you go to the low vision tab, you can find a low vision resource guide. You can also find prevention of blindness events in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Some are virtual, some are in person, but it's a way to, put your toe in the water and get to meet other people. Okay, I'll stop talking and hope that people have questions they'd like to ask. I would love to try to answer questions.
Thank you, Sandy, so much. That was a really, really great presentation, and I am excited to hear what questions we have. Again, folks, to unmute yourself, there is a button that looks like a microphone at the bottom left of your screen. If you're on a computer, it's Alt plus the letter A. And if you're on the phone, it is *6. While we're waiting for people, somebody did ask in the chat box about fit over glasses. Do you recommend yellow ones or a darker color?
So it's, like I said, it's very individual, I should say. And I did not stress enough. Every person with vision issues has their own unique issues. So I have heard that yellow fit over glasses often work for people who have macular degeneration. That's not to say they work for everyone. Yellow sunglasses can be very helpful on a gray, cloudy day where everything's sort of muted for some people. Yellow fit over glasses can be helpful when you're looking at a bright computer screen or a bright smartphone screen. If you prefer to keep it normal colors, not inverted, yellow might be sort of soothing to you. I use yellow fit over glasses at dawn and at dusk when there's not as much light. But I personally use the orange ones almost all the time when I'm outdoors and there's daylight. It's really so individual. I really recommend going and trying some out before you spend any money on them. They're not that expensive. We're talking $50, $60, but that's $50, $60. You know? Okay.
And then somebody did unmute themselves. Alita, did you have a question? Maybe not. Somebody asked, what about Libby.com as an app that offers audiobooks through your public library?
Yes. I have used it occasionally, but I'm a little bit spoiled by the Talking Books program, so I use that essentially all the time. But yes, the Libby program, if you're a registered library card user, Libby books are great. I can't remember which ones of the digital books have, like, you know, when you start reading, they give you 3 weeks and then it checks itself back in unless you do something. And if there's a waiting line, you can't renew it. Whereas Talking Books, they loan it to you. Like there's no time limit. So.
And this person mentioned they have an older relative who wants access to the internet but no experience with computer or phone and fears they can't manage see the buttons or keys.
That was me, Cynthia, talking. I hit return before I finished the question. So the question is, what would you recommend as a resource for somebody like that who has no experience with the buttons and the keys of a phone or a computer? Is there any kind of larger piece of equipment that could be purchased to get them started?
Well, I personally use what's called a large key. Well, the letters on my keyboard from my computer are large so that I can see them more easily. There's an intimidation factor if they've never, ever used a computer or never, ever used a smartphone. I think you need to start really simple and encourage them to learn one thing at a time.
Right.
If it's texting with grandkids, that's a really encouraging way to start. There are classes. If they live in this area, they can go to classes, but I'm thinking a class might also be a little bit intimidating. I think sitting and working with them one-on-one very patiently is a good way to start. There are phones that have fewer functions. Like, what's that phone called, Sean? The
Jitterbug or the blind shell?
Yeah, the Jitterbug or the blind shell. They're the price difference. You know, the Jitterbug has bigger buttons, but it has a lot fewer capabilities. I don't honestly know if you can text on those things. Blind shell does have a lot of functions that are similar to a smartphone, but they're sort of simplified. That's one way you could go. And I heard there's a new phone.
I think the motivation for this particular person is he's passionate about music and wants to get on the internet and connect with other people about music.
Yeah.
So maybe a large computer, perhaps.
Yeah, a large screen can help, and a keyboard that you can, any keyboard that has, sort of standard typewriter, a standard size keyboard, you can buy stick-on key letters that are
Oh,
bigger,
okay.
that, that are sort of the whole size of the key.
Oh, okay, that's great.
So
That's good to know. Thank you very much.
search on something that's, say, keys, UC, KEYS, space,
Okay.
the letter U, space, SEE. And you can start searching around on the internet.
That's great. Thanks for that advice. I'll definitely look into that. Thank you.
And they often, for me, since I'm so big on white letters with black background, I chose those for my stick-on letters.
That's great. Thank you.
Let's see, there was a question about transportation options to help those with low vision. Do you want to talk about Metro Access potentially?
Sure, if you're willing to take public transportation, and if you live in the DC area and you're willing to take public transportation, you can get to a lot of places in the DC area. So the Metro, what do they call it? Metro Access Paratransit Service. You do have to meet criteria before you're eligible for that. And if you live within 3/4 of a mile of a bus stop or a metro station, then you can get this service from your door to wherever you're going at a very reduced price. But there is a threshold of disability or lack of ability to be eligible for that particular program. And I really think the other different neighborhoods have different sort of volunteers who are doing ride things. So if it's a volunteer driving, they aren't necessarily vetted. Like if you take Uber, there is a certain level of vetting before a person can be an Uber driver. So it's sort of what's your comfort zone and what's your requirement. I think, some churches might have programs where there'll be ride sharing. I know many of these neighborhoods in neighborhood networks in the DC, Maryland area have sort of you contribute something and you can swap, somebody will give you a ride if you do something else, sort of in the pool of sharing help. Any other questions?
Here's one I didn't know, Sandy. A company called Azio, AZIO, makes computer keyboards that light behind the keys to make it easy to see.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me that, and that I finally tracked them down. So I could pronounce it Azio. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. AZIO. Yes. So a computer keyboard where the shape of the letter is actually cut out of the key, or it's transparent, and a light is shining up through the key so that you're seeing a lit up letter A, letter B, number 1, number 2, and they come in different colors. I've seen them pink, green, yellow, purple. So if one color is more soothing to your eyes than another, you can even choose the color of the light shining up through the keyboard.
Wow.
And that has the advantage of you can be typing in the dark, so to speak.
Yeah, I was just going to say it also doubles as a nightlight.
Right.
Okay. Let's see. Sandy, you mentioned a third type of phone you were going to mention when we were talking about other accessible phones. Do you know what that one was?
I'm trying to remember what it's called. Real Sam, REAL. That's capital REAL, capital SAM is the way I saw it written. Now it's available in England, and supposedly it became available in the United States last fall, maybe. I'm not sure. The good news is it's almost all voice commands. More than 90% of what you do on it is voice command and one tap on the lower part of the screen. So that, you say to the phone, call so-and-so, and the phone makes some comment to you, and to confirm that you do want to make the phone call, you tap, something like that. That's the good news. The bad news is the price is like about $1,200 or $1,300. It's right up there. Not quite as expensive as an iPhone, but it's not inexpensive. Another piece of good news is supposedly it's compatible with all the major carriers in the United States, but it's not readily available yet to my knowledge. I just heard about it the other day. But my point is, voice command stuff is really coming along. Yeah, yes. How many years ago did we get Amazon Alexa? Now you can ask Siri all sorts of stuff. Well, pretty soon you're going to be able to talk to your phone without all the complicated gestures of iPhone voiceover users. Right? It's amazing how fast things are evolving.
Let's see. So you might know this one because of your knowledge with Metro, Sandy. At one of your previous talks, somebody in this area was able to use the special transportation assistance when they visited Hawaii. He said he set this up in advance since he qualified here in the area. Do you know how that works, or who they contact to make that happen?
It's sort of in general. So if you're already a Metro Access paratransit rider, if you've already got the card, the account with WMATA here in the DC region, that privilege is transferable to many other cities in the United States. Basically, every city that has a public transportation system that is partially funded by federal dollars is required to have a paratransit system. And by paratransit, I mean parallel transportation. So in Hawaii, they do have paratransit on at least the Big Island, I think. So the ball is in your court. You have to contact the city you're going to and do it 2, 3, 4 weeks ahead of time. Ask them about their parallel transportation system, if it exists, an idea of where it goes, whether it would even be useful to you, whether where you're going to be staying is within their zone that they service. Because remember I said you have, in the DC area, you have to live or work or have a connection that's 3/4 of a mile or less from a Metro bus or Metro rail station. So in other cities, there would be some other similar limit. So if you're staying in a hotel that's 5 miles out of town and there's no public transportation there anyway, this might not be useful to you, but call ahead, figure out if you're going to be within, if they have the service, if they will honor, and they should honor, the WMATA parallel service. And you have to get it set up, and then you have to kind of get the information from WMATA to them. And it's tricky and fiddly, but if you're going to be somewhere for a week or two and you're going to be in an area that would be serviced by it, could be quite helpful.
All right, we have time for one more question if anyone has anything burning. Okay, well, Sandy, thank you so much for presenting today. This was a really, really informative and helpful presentation. I know I learned a lot myself, and I appreciate you coming on today. And thank you, Louise, for inviting the Prevention of Blindness Society to come on today to talk about this very important topic.
This was a wonderful presentation. I can't thank Sean and Sandy enough. I've really been so important to get this information out to the broader community.